I think we're is we have to be able to show that it is possible. We have to build up a party for this purpose. And I'm an optimist in the sense that I do think the present crisis is actually a crisis of capitalism itself, an inherent crisis. And I do not see them getting back to the equilibrium that they had been in the 1980s, because that's where you have to go back to. I don't think that's now possible. I think we're now returning to a period of unstable capitalism. Under those conditions, our possibilities are considerable as socialists, as Marxists. And I think this is the first time that this has been the case for almost a century. And I don't think you want me to go on, but I could go on to explain why I don't think it was possible before. Thank you.
Skepticism is the answer, and eulogizing leadership is a definite no-no. And the only certain prediction you can make is that we're all going to die someday. All the rest is developing every day and every day, past days, and all the rest of it. And what my opinion is, we live today, we remember yesterday, and we can make general suppositions, no predictions, mind, suppositions about what's going to happen tomorrow, or the day after. And any further than that, then your bum's out the window. So, get rid of the idea of leaders and eulogizing Trotsky and all the rest of them, because whatever's written can be interpreted depending on your point of view. And what I see is, we're all, I mean, Ravi's anniversary is the one, man to man and all that. We all live in similar conditions, we all talk to one another, and capitalism is doing its damnedest. Well, it's not doing its damnedest, but capitalism, the way it's gone, has gone, makes people think way up their position. And industrialisation, there's been no country in the world who hasn't industrialised at great human cost. I mean, Britain did it and at the expense of the landed agricultural labourers. Russia did it. And by the way, when the peasants were emancipated, their position was actually marginally worse than when the army. The same as the slaves, the slaves in the empire. When they were emancipated, they were left with nothing to do, no wages, no nothing. In fact, their position was worsened than when they were captive. So, what about it then? It's up to us. No Trotsky, no leaders. It's up to us to talk to our neighbours in the pub, wherever, and be sceptical about all these sort of so-called leaders. I mean, they get kind of all the propaganda about Tony Blair. Oh, he was going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread, and see what an arsehole he turned out to be. Pardon the language, but that's the mood I'm in now.
Well, you can certainly come back, but if somebody else, you want to get a point?
Yeah, I just want to say, I think that comrades have been underestimating what was actually going on in Europe at the point of the Russian Revolution, at the point that actually, of course, there was this mass upsurge, and you can go through all the countries of Europe. Okay, people have quoted Trotsky and various times said, well, you know, these things didn't happen or whatever else. But there was no question. If you look at it, throughout, the major countries, from France, Spain, Germany, and so on, there was a mass upsurge. There were a number of uprisings. There were, the German working class was put down forcibly by the reactionaries. The German working class itself, has been alluded to, in terms of the Russian efforts to the system. The German working class had a number of chances actually to take power, and it wasn't just sort of, maybe the odd few people, but a mass movement, a mass left organisation, which had significant chances to take power through certainly from 1918 onwards until 1923. You can point to a number of events that could have been the outcome, and that would have changed world history. And you can look at the resonance of the Russian Revolution throughout Europe, from in all the countries, in which it was able to bring people together, and not even just Europe. I mean, able to bring people, from the whole left, having suffered this appalling tragedy of the First World War, in which, obviously the leaderships of the Second International had completely sold the past, and they'd obviously gone over to supporting the war, and in which the left could be the anti-war left could be gathered together in one railway carriage in Switzerland in the middle of the war, and suddenly then out of that the rise of the revolution and the obvious crisis of the capitalists. I think that also when people saying mock the French working class in the 30s. I mean, they were on strike for more wages, etc. The French working class didn't understand that. The French capitalist class didn't understand that. The French capitalist class understood that the situation was so bad that a large fraction of it, possibly a majority, was in favour of an invasion from the fascists and wanted to sort out the working class. They wanted to actually have this class crushed, and they didn't see themselves having the strength to do it. And it's really that sort of position. And I think that the other thing, of course, is that to say what the Russian Revolution has given us in the present is it has fundamentally changed, the relationship between the working class and the capitalist class, and it changed the relationship with society. And if you look at the way that society has been organised before and organised since, there's an absolute profound shift. And you can see the capitalist class understands it completely, that it is on notice. The Russian Revolution says to capital, and capital understands it, that it is on notice from the working class, that its grave diggers are here. They're here on the world stage, and that its time is limited. It understands that absolutely, and it continues to this day. If you look at the conditions of the working class now, or even post the Russian Revolution compared to what they were previously, there is an absolutely profound shift, and the capitalist class has to concede across a whole range of things because of that event. And however much it may be distorted by Stalinism and whatever else, it does actually mark the possibilities for the future. There's no question of that.
Anyone else? Yes?
No, I'm just pointing out that the two speakers have got to wind up.
Yes, I know that.
And we're going to be out here by 5 o'clock.
Yes, I know. I'm watching out very carefully. What I intend to do is make sure that we wind up at 5 to 5, chance to clear up, and that each speaker is going to give 5 minutes to end at the end, so I'll call an end at 1:45 to start that. But we'll still get 10 minutes for any other points. Yes, the back.
Does Adam think that the present financial and economic crisis will help that, the spread of socialist ideas?
Well, it's a direct question. It's a better answer.
Well, it could. It probably should. But I mean, I don't think that we would go along with the view that just because you have an economic crisis, that's what's going to spark off a socialist revolution. I mean, in fact, the experience of past economic crisis suggests rather the opposite. That in an economic crisis, people who haven't got a job, what they want is a job, not socialism. Having said that, amongst the minority of people who do think about